Hello, this is our 13th lecture in the course Creating Insight into Customers and End Users. Here we'll be talking about consumer learning and attitude formation. And here are the learning objectives for this session: to understand the process and 4 elements of consumer learning, to understand what attitudes are, how they are learned, as well as their nature and characteristics, and to understand how experience leads to the initial formation of consumption-related attitudes. Here's a definition of learning in the context of consumer behavior. The learning is considered as the process by which individuals acquire the purchase and consumption knowledge and experience that they apply to future-related behavior. It is important to realize that this is a process, that it changes over time as new knowledge and experiences are gained by the consumer. New knowledge and experience serve as feedback to the consumer and will influence their future behavior. There are 4 major elements of all learning theories: motivation, cues, response, and reinforcement. Motivation is important because it will differ from one consumer to the next. We may all have a need, but some are more motivated to fulfill the need versus another. Often, a consumer does not realize they have a need. A cue is the stimulus that helps direct a consumer's motives. They include price, styling, packaging, advertising, store displays. A consumer will have a response to a drive or a cue. The response is how the consumer behaves after being exposed to a cue or developing motivation. Finally, reinforcement is tied to the likelihood that the response will occur in the future. These are the 2 general categories of learning: behavioral learning and cognitive learning. Classical conditioning, a behavioral learning theory according to which a stimulus is paired with another stimulus that elicits a known response, which in turn serves to produce the same response when used alone. Many of you have certainly heard about the Pavlov's dog tests. In this situation, Pavlov rang a bell, then applied meat paste on the dog's tongue. Over time, this was repeated several times, and over time the dog began to associate the ringing of the bell to the meat paste. Eventually, when Pavlov rang the bell, the dog would salivate because he expected the meat paste to be applied. What happened was learning or conditioning. The dog learned that the meat paste, which is called the unconditioned stimulus, was associated with the bell, which is the conditioned stimulus. He began to have a conditioned response to the bell when he learned that the bell meant food. Think about the advertisement for these ads. Coca-Cola and other beverage companies. What kind of conditioned marketing do they use? What is the conditioned or unconditioned stimulus? Isn't that smiling people and music, fun? Rarely only these jars. Instrumental conditioning also requires a link between stimulus and a response. The difference between this and classical conditioning is that the learned response is the one that is most satisfactory of responses. The famous psychologist Skinner is associated with this type of conditioning. He pointed out that learning occurs best when it is based on rewards. Through trial and error, consumers learn which behaviors lead to rewards and which do not. The two types of reinforcement are positive and negative. It is important to realize that both of these influence responses. Positive reinforcement is a good thing that happens which rewards a behavior. For example, going to the gym makes you feel so good that you wish to go there every day. A negative outcome is a bad thing that happens which encourages a behavior. You ate a donut every morning for breakfast, so you gained a lot of weight over the past weeks. And this causes you to go to the gym every other day and to stop eating donuts. Extinction and forgetting are easily confused. Extinction is related to fire and putting off the fire. Forgetting is related to the memory. Think what the words mean. If the response is forgotten, it can be brought back just by reminding or remembering. If it is extincted, it is erased. It is no more there in your learning. We can even say that it is not learned. The link between the stimulus and the response is destroyed. Attitude is a learned predisposition to behave in a consciously favorable or unfavorable manner with respect to a given object. We have attitudes towards many things, to people, products, services, advertisement, etc. For the most part, these attitudes have been learned and guide our behavior towards the object. What attitude does this product ad raise in you? You might like the product, but dislike the ad, or vice versa. About attitudes. Attitudes are always related to an object. They are learned predispositions which have consistency and occur in a certain situation. To understand attitudes or measure them, we must first clearly define the objects which we're discussing or measuring the attitude towards. Is it a product, service, a category of services or products, or a specific model of a product? The second is the agreement among researchers that attitudes are learned, either through direct experience or from others. Attitudes are also consistent. They are not necessarily permanent and can change over time. And we all know how attitudes can be affected by situations. Think about the times you have to eat food that are not necessarily your favorite ones, but they are what is available or what you're being served at a friend's house. This is a model that looks at people's attitude towards online shopping. Here are the different consumer characteristics that influence the attitude. First of all, consumer demographics, purchase preferences, the benefits that the consumer considers to obtain, and naturally the consumer lifestyle. On the one hand, attitudes are formed through learning. If attitudes are learned, then it is through experience that this learning occurs. This can be from personal experience or from experiences with friends or exposure to marketing influences. On the other hand, people will form attitudes based on the information that best suits them. Information for the high need for cognition consumer, and images and spokespeople for the low need for cognition. How does a set of coupons impact consumers' attitudes? New customers will try the product and existing customers will be rewarded. This was the end of lecture 13. Hope you enjoy it.